Damien Woody, former NFL offensive lineman, about the Browns roster in 2024 and the importance this season for Deshaun Watson. This from ESPN's First Take.
Cleveland's roster? I'm sorry, like, there's not, maybe the 49ers can match the Cleveland's roster. They are stacked on both sides of the ball, okay? Like, all the points that Dan talked about is absolutely a fact. You got a two-time coach of the year, okay, coaching you. They literally rearranged the coaching staff on offense just to placate to Deshaun Watson because of what they've invested in Deshaun Watson. Like, think of all what the Cleveland Browns gave up for Deshaun Watson. They're expecting a Deshaun Watson to be the 2020 Deshaun Watson from the Houston Texans.
That's the problem.
Yeah. But see, that's where that's the expectation. But see, that's the expectation. That's what when we're talking about the root of this question, when we talk about expectation, that's the expectation that the Cleveland Browns are expecting from Deshaun Watson. We need the 2020 version of you, because if we get the 2020 version, Deshaun Watson, who's out there? Who out there can match Cleveland, player for player out there? Who can match him? Right. We know they got, listen, we know number 15 exists in the universe. We know he's that guy. But if we're talking about the whole pie, the big picture, like, Cleveland has that type of team. They need Deshaun Watson to be Deshaun Watson from 2020.
Sam, I get why people might be skeptical of it. He did point out, and I think importantly, they redid the offensive coaching staff to try to maximize Deshaun. There's no other reason you do that other than to, okay, we got to figure out a way to get Deshaun Watson. He doesn't have to be 2020 Deshaun Watson because he's not going to throw for 5,000 yards. The reason he threw for so many yards was they were always behind. They won 4 games that year. So if he was on a better team, he wouldn't have thrown for that many yards. He's got to be an effective top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they would love to get 2020 Deshaun Watson back. But you're right. I don't think they need that version of him to come back. They just need somewhere in the middle. They need to split the difference between 2020 Deshaun Watson and the guy that's been in Cleveland so far. If they can find a happy middle ground between those two players, then I agree with Woody that this is one of the best rosters in the NFL. It might be the best roster in the NFL, players 2 through 53. The problem is the guy that they paid all the money to, the guy that they went and traded for, has simply not been that player so far in his Browns career. And if they can get anything like that back, the Browns, I think, immediately become legitimate contenders.
When you think of, and we touched on this briefly, when you look at what he did well in Houston, what did you see? Because remember, back in those days, they were talking about Mahomes, Watson, and they were kind of on the same level. What did he do well? What were his strengths?
Yeah, so that offense in Houston, they spread things out. They used a lot of empty formations, and this is where, the Browns last couple of years, they've used a lot of empty formations as well. So that's one area where it's similar. But they didn't necessarily attack deep down the field. They didn't run a ton of play action. They targeted the middle of the field a lot, not outside the numbers. This was an offense that sort of spread things out, used a lot of RPOs, those run-pass options, gave Watson options, places to go with the football, gave him simple reads, and let him just be a playmaker, whether it was choosing the right option, run pass, whether it was taking off and making things happen himself, scrambling or extending the play. It was tapping into all that. Sort of ironically, I think almost the more structure this offense has put around him, with the Browns, the worse he does. He almost is a quarterback that needs to play in that sort of slightly chaotic, slightly out of script environment.
Yeah, he has the athleticism and the arm talent to make that work. So we'll see. They certainly are trying to figure out how to unlock him without question.